What is up, my tricksters? It's your friendly neighborhood Yu-Gi-Oh! Superhero back again for a discussion video of all things. So we have a lot to discuss. I'm sure that the title probably gave it away. We're going to be discussing all the various board wipes that are kind of in the game, and we're going to be talking about how we're going to be talking about kind of a discussion about whether they are good, fair, should be here, etc. Yeah. So, and the big reason why we're talking about it is because this awesome individual right here, Miss Jessica Robertson, she won the European Nats. So she's going to Japan for Europe. So cool. That is awesome. Good for her. Lovely that she could do that. And the big reason why is because in the final game, in the final match, she won because of Harpy's Feather Duster, and it has set the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community ablaze! There's been a number of other kind of BS surrounding that, which I'm going to briefly mention because, there have been a lot of, not a lot of, I would say, but there's been a handful of, I've been seeing some kind of, sus comments, people making comments at her, oh, I think it's awfully convenient that she got Harpy's Feather Duster. I'm like, we know what they're insinuating. They're insinuating that she's cheating somehow, and she got lucky. Sure, here's the thing. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! Alright? It's a card game. There is a level of luck to this. Regardless of what anyone will tell you, luck is a factor in the game, and she got a little bit lucky, and she pulled the exact card she needed. It happens! Much to, I'm sure, some certain types of people's chagrin. Transphobes! I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from. Must be that Canadian smoke coming down here. That's what's happening. Anyway, all jokes aside, we're going to be talking about whether board wipes are okay. I've been seeing some stuff that's been floating around on the Twitter space and the Facebook spaces of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it's been a hot button issue. So we're talking about cards like Harpy's Feather Duster, like Evenly Matched, like Lightning Storm, and Dark Ruler No More. These are the various cards I have seen, although there are bunches of other cards that I would argue are, like board wipes, like Super Poly here, for example. Also, I think should count as a board wipe. Yeah, there's a number of cards that are considered board wipe. I'm going to throw Super Poly just because I consider it a board wipe, but I know that not everyone does, but I'm going to count it for me. But the reason we're starting with Harpy's Feather Duster and Evenly Matched and Lightning Storm is because these cards are typically used against back row heavy decks. Evenly and Lightning Storm have that multi-utility. They can be used for front row too, so it's just kind of we're tossing them all in there because these are the common board wipey cards. Should they be legal? Short answer, yes, they should be. That is the short answer. Long answer is a little more complicated. So one of the other things that people are mad about is they're like, oh, you shouldn't be able to play these kinds of cards. I disagree. Mostly because cards like Harpy's Feather Duster and Lightning Storm and are also arguably Dark Ruler and Super Poly punish players for relying solely on one aspect of the game. That's a popular talking point I've been seeing, and I kind of agree. Basically, the point of these kinds of cards is to punish a player who plays one specific type of card in the game. Yes, you shouldn't be able to win just because you chose to play an all trap deck or just because you chose to play an all spell deck. Honestly, from my personal view, just to throw that in there, I think that those decks are toxic anyway. I think if you're playing a back row based deck, I'm gonna be completely transparent. That's the reason why I call those players back row bitch players. Don't hate me if you're that kind of player. I may not necessarily be talking about you, but those kind of players who set 5 and then they're like, hey, no, floodgate. No, screw you. I hate that shit. And granted, I play some floodgates too. They're a necessary evil, just like board wipes are a necessary evil. There's a lot of things in Yu-Gi-Oh! That are necessary evils for modern play. So honestly, I think that the idea that we need to ban Harpy's Feather Duster and Evenly and Lightning Storm, I think it's a ridiculous. I think it's a silly talking point. I think it's players who are salty that you know, that, you know, they play back row decks and their back row decks aren't as good as they think they should be. That's what I think, honestly. Now, that being stated, I also, and before you try to come after me, because I know that some of the back row players will be like, you just think we should all play with monsters. Yes, I do. But I also, in the same vein, think cards like Lightning Storm, Evenly, Dark Ruler, and Sewer Poly should also be legal in the same vein. That's called being fair. Now, a lot of players aren't going to like my take on it. I know that because I saw some of the comments on the Eradicator Epidemic Virus thing, which, I'm sorry, there are aspects of that card that I don't like either. But if you're gonna play toxic shit like Sky Strikers and Runic, we gotta have a card like that exists in the game. So, look, if you want to play fair Yu-Gi-Oh, there's only one way to do it. Honestly, the really only way we can do a fair Yu-Gi-Oh is to go and just make everything battle oriented, and then make everything like the only things you can do is increase or decrease monster attack points. That's it. You want to make Unga Bunga Yu-Gi-Oh? I'm okay with that. Let's do it. You want to make Unga Bunga Yu-Gi-Oh? Great. But I have a feeling the back row players aren't going to want to play Unga Bunga Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's just, okay, cool. The only thing that our spells and traps do is either make our monsters bigger or make our opponent's monsters smaller. If that's the route you want to go. I mean, like what they call it, Battle of the Gods or whatever it was forever ago, when they were making us Yu-Gi-Oh players, when you get to the top, they'd make you guys all do like Battle Pass or whatever, and you would just like open a pack, take a card, pass the pack down. It was silly. It was silly and stupid, but that's how it worked. If you want to push Konami to go that route, that's the best shot you got. Let's be honest. If you don't want to see cards like this being played, then to be fair, the only thing you can do is to put Yu-Gi-Oh in that kind of format where the only thing we have are monsters that do things like that, and spells and traps that, you know, do stuff like that, and that's it. That's all we got. Everything's now battle oriented, which you won't like. Which the back row players, you won't like that either. You want to know why? Because the only back row you'll be able to play will either be monster or trap cards that become a monster, or manipulate attack and defense. That's it. Is that what you want? Like, because that's what the Battle Pass did, or whatever it was called, War of the Gods or something. I can't remember. It's, in my defense, it has been a minute, and I have slept since then. But the point of it is like, yeah, back then that was the strategy. That was how we did. The top cut was decided that way. I don't know why, but that's why it was. My guess was it was a way for Konami to sell product. It probably didn't work. Nobody liked it anyway. But yeah, point is, that's the only way that you're going to be able to get rid of cards like these out of the game permanently, and have the game not be just overwhelmed by back row bullshittery. So, if we're going to have back row bullshittery, you're going to have board wipes. If you're going to have multi-negate cards, monsters in the field, you're going to have board wipes. Sorry, it's just going to be the nature of the beast. If you're going to have these boards where I'm like, oh, I got Baron de Fleur and Apollosa and Naturia Beast and Naturia Barkion, I'm set. I've got all the negates. Then yeah, you got to have cards like Sewer Poly in the game. It sucks. You're going to have to deal with it. You know what I mean? If you're going to be playing Labyrinth where you activate 5 trap cards, then yeah, your opponent is going to have cards like Harpy's Feather Duster, Evenly, and Lightning Storm to make you prematurely either use your cards or make them go away. It's the nature of the beast. And you may not necessarily like it, but they're not ban-worthy. Sorry. Board wipes aren't ban-worthy. And if these weren't being played, you know, let's be honest, if this weren't being played, they'd be mad that Twin Twister exists, or they'd be mad if any other card exists. Like, even if you take out Heavy Storm, if you replace Harpy's Feather Duster with Heavy Storm, Giant Trunade, Hey Trunade, which, by the way, the spell Hey Trunade would have gotten you the same result, for the most part. It just would have bounced everything back to the hand instead of destroying it. And you either had to use it or lose it. And then, you know what? They'd be mad about that. So, I also think, to be honest, that the people who are pissed off that Miss Robinson was able to win using Harpy's Feather Duster aren't just mad about Harpy's Feather Duster. And I'm not going to make this claim for all of them. All the people who are mad, you know what I mean, about Harpy's Feather Duster being played here. because I guarantee you that is not the majority of it. But I promise you that there is a small percentage of people that are mad at her for winning. And they're mad at her for winning because, a trans girl won Euros. And that's just, that's because there's hateful people in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. And I know it's been all over Twitter, people misgendering her left and right. Former Yu-Gi-Oh, I saw one of the Yu-Gi tubers I used to work with, MSK, openly a transphobe. And that's why you don't see me working with him anymore. It is what it is. Anyway, if you like this channel, if you like this video, if you like the channel, do me a solid, subscribe, like the video, leave me a comment. What do you think? Are board wipes just have gone too far, or or do you think they're pretty fair? It's fine if you have either opinion, by the way. I'm not gonna agree with you if you have the opinion that they should be banned, but that's just, it's Yu-Gi-Oh. This is an area where we can disagree. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.